Hi, my name's Mike, and this is an account of my haunted house experience. It happened several years ago when we moved into our new place. The house was nice, except it needed some TLC and remodeling done. Everything was going well for the first few months, and we were really excited. All of our friends and family were happy for us and wanted to see the new house. But we didn't want to do the housewarming until we had the place fixed up. It took about almost half a year until we got the house ready. It looked marvelous after all the work we put in. My wife Linda and I started calling people to invite them to our housewarming party. It wasn't a huge group, only about 15 couples. It was scheduled for a Saturday night at 7 p.m. We took all day setting the place up and cooking. Linda's brother Chi and sister-in-law Gao were over helping out. We were practically done and putting the last touches on the food and decoration when the doorbell rang. I was in the kitchen at the time and glanced over at the clock on the microwave. It was 7 p.m. around the dot. I figured the first guests had arrived. The house had a nice open concept, so I could see the whole living room and the front door from the kitchen sink. I looked over to the front door. The door had textured glass windows on it, so I can see if someone were at the door. There was a motion sensor light at the front as well. I thought it odd the light hadn't triggered. It was already dark around that time, since it was in the middle of November. "I'll get it," Gao shouted, running toward the door. She opened it and stuck her head out to look around. "There's no one here." Linda ran over to join Gao by the door. "Are there any cars parked out front?" "I don't see any," Gao said, still looking outside. "That is weird," Linda said, also looking outside. "Right?" responded Gao. After a moment of checking the front of the house, they returned to working on food and decoration with confused expressions on their faces. "So y'all didn't see anyone there?" I asked, putting away the pots and pans. "No, there was no one there," Linda responded, organizing the last bit of hors d'oeuvres on a ceramic serving platter. "I didn't see the light come on either. It should have turned on as people approached the front door, unless the bulb went out," I said. "Maybe, but we didn't check the light. We just stood by the door," responded Linda. "Chi, was the light working when y'all showed up earlier?" I asked Linda's brother, who was on the couch in the living room. She replied, not even looking up as he played on his phone. "I can't remember if it did or not." We didn't discuss the subject any further, but the question remained stuck in my mind. About 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. This time, there were actually people at the door. It was my coworker and her husband. That confirmed nothing was wrong with the front entry light. More and more people gradually started showing up as the night went on. It was great spending time and sharing our happiness with our loved ones. I was ecstatic when I found out one of the gifts from the housewarming was a Ring doorbell. We were wanting to get one. I installed it the next day before work. I work night shifts and Linda worked a regular 9 to 5, so she's home alone a lot at night. The following Monday evening, while I was at work, I got a missed call and a voicemail from Linda. The call logs show she called at 7:05 p.m. I called the voicemail box. "Hey babe, call me back," Linda's voice message said. I hung up, then called her. "Hey, what's up?" I asked. I think there is something wrong with the doorbell," answered Linda. "What do you mean? What's wrong with it?" I asked. Including the night of the housewarming, the doorbell rang yesterday at the same time, then again tonight. Every time I went and checked, there was no one at the door. What's weird is the motion sensor light never triggered, so maybe the doorbell is malfunctioning or something. I took a moment to think about what the issue might have been. There shouldn't have been anything wrong since the doorbell was new. And why did the same issue also affect the old one? It didn't make any sense. I needed more time to think about it, so I responded with, okay, I'll check it out on my day off, but it won't be until Thursday. Did you check the video in the Ring app? I did. There was no one there. Can't you just disable it? It's starting to creep me out. Fine, I'll do it tomorrow. With that, he said our goodbyes and hung up. The next afternoon, I looked at the video logs after waking up. I filtered to the last 2 previous nights between the 7 p.m. and 6:58 p.m. timeframes. On the video, I could see the street and the house across from us. Around the 7:59 mark, I saw a white, transparent figure appear from out of thin air in our front yard and slowly approach the house. Only, it wasn't walking. It seemed to be gliding or floating. The figure would vanish every 3 paces, reappearing closer every time. I couldn't believe what I was seeing before my eyes. It was impossible for any human to perform such a feat. My heart raced, the hair on the back of my neck rose, and goosebumps crawled all over me. I stared, unblinking, at the screen of my phone for what seemed like an endless amount of time. As the figure got closer, I saw that it was an old, hunch-over white lady. Her eyes were blank and staring into nothingness. There was no emotion. She came directly toward the screen of my phone, as if to jump out at me. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Startled, I dropped my phone and it clattered onto the floor. I froze in place, staring straight at a silhouette of a figure outside the front door. I can't recall how long I stood there, but the doorbell went off again. Hey, someone's at the door. What are you waiting for? Linda shouted from the hallway, making her way quickly towards the door. I wanted to stop her, but I couldn't even speak. I held my breath as she opened the door. To my surprise, it was just a UPS delivery man. I let out a huge sigh of relief. Linda picked up my phone and handed it to me. She eyed me suspiciously, then said, "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." About that. We need to talk," I finally said. "About what?" Linda asked. "The doorbell issue. You might want to sit down and view the vids on the Ring app," I said as I handed my phone back to her. As anticipated, the videos spooked her as they did me. So apparently, the old woman would vanish after ringing the doorbell. That was why we did not initially see her. I suggested that we stay at Cheese while we figure out what was going on. We packed some clothes and went to stay at her brother's place. Linda called me around 8 that night. I was busy and couldn't call her back until my first break. "What's up? Do you need something?" I asked. "I think that ghost is following us. Earlier, the same thing happened here. The doorbell rang right at 7, and when Chi went to the door, there was no one there," responded Linda. I guess we'll need to have the house blessed or something. Do you think that will work?" I actually got off the phone with my parents, and they're having a shaman look into it. "We'll know by tomorrow," said Linda. The next day, her mom called to update us on the situation. She said, "The shaman told her the old lady is following y'all because she doesn't understand why y'all did the housewarming since it was her family's house, and she's also looking for her family. She doesn't believe y'all bought the house, so she wants proof. The old woman first appeared at the housewarming because she heard y'all talking about it over the phone." "Okay, so what do we do?" asked Linda. "The shaman has already reached an agreement with her. You'll need to give her an offering. She wants food, some money, and proof y'all bought the house. For that, y'all will need to get a copy of the deed, then burn it along with the joss money and incense. Only then will she leave y'all alone. Mom, I don't know how to do that. Is there anything you can do to help? That's why you should move closer to us. Also, this is the reason it's very important to learn the Hmong culture and religion. But you kids never listen. Now you see. I know, Mom, but I need your help right now. Since we live far away, maybe you can go to Uncle Kong for help. He's well versed in Hmong culture and rituals. After their conversation, Linda and I contacted Uncle Kong and filled him in on the issue. The actual offering doesn't require a shaman, but you do need one to see what it is the spirit needs or wants. Uncle wasn't a shaman, but has agreed to help us. We gathered all the supplies he asked for, and he met us at our house. In the Hmong culture, it is common to offer food and money to the deceased, much like the Mexicans do during Días los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. He stood outside the front door as he set up the food. The old woman only wanted candy and snacks, so that was what we got. After he set up the food, he started calling in Hmong for the old woman to receive the offering. Then he followed that by burning joss money and incense into an aluminum pan. While he did that, he explained to her about the money and the incense being offered. Lastly, he burned a copy of the deed and explained to the old woman it was the proof she asked for. He told her to leave and never come back, because it is no longer her house, and that her family no longer resides there. He spoke Hmong throughout the process. I was told it wasn't required, but Uncle Kong didn't speak English. The offering process took about 15 minutes. When doing offerings, you have to be very precise with who you are addressing, as there are a ton of homeless and lost spirits who would gladly take the offerings. You also have to be very precise in your wording, otherwise they would cheat you and not hold their end of the deal. You could almost compare it to a business transaction. After the offering was done, we never heard from the old woman again. I've only ever heard stories about ghosts and stuff, but never thought I'd actually have an encounter with one. I also used to be a skeptic when it comes to the Hmong rituals and customs. I took it for granted. Now I'm a firm believer. I vowed to learn more about our culture and religion. This was definitely an eye-opening experience.